The Fiat Lux has existed since 1913, but it was prior publications that led to the rise of a student newspaper at AU. Literary Star was published in 1853 and was written in longhand. First publication of student news at Alfred's collegiate level, AU was not formed as a university until 1857. Through 1874 until 1879, the Alfred Student chronicled campus news and events. A monthly magazine titled the Alfred Monthly came after the Alfred Student and was the precursor to the Fiat Lux. October 21, 1913 marked the first edition of a weekly student newspaper. The first issue was called the Alfred Weekly. In it was a contest to name the paper. The name Fiat Lux was chosen after Donald Clark from the class of 1914 submitted his entry.
In May 1913, the monthly had an editorial titled The Dreamer that called for a student newspaper. It said, quote, "Such a college newspaper published by a student board of 5 or 6 students would be a step in advance for Alfred. But those who take the responsibility of working on such a paper should have absolutely nothing else to do in line of student activities. Their efforts should be concentrated on the paper alone, and as a result, Alfred would be where she belongs in the college circles of small student newspapers. The University of Rochester has an excellent weekly newspaper. Hobart College publishes a well-edited fortnightly newspaper. The University of Buffalo has just started a weekly newspaper." So Alfred asked, why isn't Alfred University alive enough to start a twice-a-month college newspaper? The Dreamer hopes to see it realized.
The paper has transformed and changed radically since its inception. The Fiat, as the lone voice of AU News, has seen periods throughout its existence of opposition. Other students wanted to create their own publications over the years to either rival or supplement the Fiat's coverage. Fiat's paper size has changed and a number of pages has also been in flux. The cost per year to subscribe has also varied throughout the years. At its peak in 1965, it was $6 per year, compared to in 1913 the paper merely cost $1.50. In September of 1977, the paper became bi-weekly, and it's attributed to budget cuts. The two most highly profiled individuals who were editors of the Fiat at one time graduated in the 50s. Marvin Bell, a graduate of 58, became an author of several books of poetry, and Robert Littell, who graduated in 1956, was a journalist and also now is an author of spy novels who resides in France. The biggest change of the Fiat over the years perhaps has been its coverage over time. With less students and a tighter community, the reporting was tight and the paper filled with a lot of happenings on campus, but as AU grew, its students fragmented, thus the paper wasn't as full, and today it pales in comparison in regards to the number of stories and headlines compared to the times during the early to mid 20th century. Today, photos dominate pages in a visual world.
Presently, the paper is moving towards a visual emphasis while still concentrating on content, but according to University archivist Lori McFadden, there is still room for improvement in documenting organizations on campus.
The Connecticut Day Yearbook and the Fiat are the two publications that are used to look back at the campus. What was happening? What are the campus attitudes? Are there any controversies? So if we look at the paper now, everything is pretty hunky-dory. We're not really, maybe there are no issues that we need to be critical of, but there's just so much campus life and student life that's not being covered in the paper that if I don't, as the archivist, find another place that mentions that we have a skateboard club, or we have a hockey team, or we have Spectrum, whatever organization it is, if it's not mentioned in the Fiat, it's almost like they never existed.
Current Fiat Lux editor Tom Fleming expresses his opinions on who he thinks the paper should appeal to and where he sees it going in the future.
I've tried very hard to reach the 4 major schools on this campus. The business school, art school, liberal arts, engineering. To some extent the graduate school. But I've worked really hard trying to get more art students involved, especially, and business school involved. I feel like this needs to be everybody's newspaper. That it has to have information relevant to everybody. So if someone comes up to me and they say, they tell me they found one story that was relevant to them, then I feel like I'm getting closer to my goal of being. This is the student newspaper of Alfred University. We have a very diverse group of students with varying interests, so this newspaper is never going to please everybody. But if I can get a little bit of something in there that is relevant to everybody and tell them something new, then I feel like that's closer to my goal. Where I see it going now is, right now we kind of have more of a focus on the visual aspect of the paper, which actually was something I did try to push for, because just newspaper industry as a whole, newspapers are becoming more aesthetic. I mean, they have to compete with the internet as far as trying to get people to pick up a newspaper, and. So I kind of feel more like it's going to head more in that direction. You're going to expect to see more photographs. You're going to expect to see more, more visuals within the paper. It's going to be more integrated with the website that we have. So I think that's the kind of thing you can expect to see. I feel like, at the moment we're currently low on, the ambitious reporter types. But they'll come back.
The Fiat is approaching its 100-year anniversary in 2013, and it will continue to serve as a way to document the campus community.